What's going on, nerds? Brandon here from Nerdlocker.com. I have a movie review for you. This is the movie I was the most excited to see this year, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. I actually wrote down a lot of notes because there's a lot in this movie. So this movie is basically character development, just to get that out there. There's still a ton of action. It is still an amazing movie, but this movie really focuses on the relationship of the group to each other and kind of the little things about each of them that makes them who they are. You know, you get 3 Captain America movies and 3 Iron Man movies and 3 Thor movies, and with that you can give them more development. With Guardians, you only have the Guardians films. We're not getting a Drax solo movie or a Star-Lord solo movie, so all of this has to be in here. So I feel like that move to make this movie just about that was a very good call. Chris Pratt as Star-Lord absolutely kills it. The one note about every actor is it does seem like they're kind of getting into the character just a little bit more. Yeah, I think everyone did an amazing job in the first movie, but you can really tell them getting a little more comfortable with who they are and the people that they're playing. Peter Quill, Star-Lord, finding out that Ego, played by Kurt Russell. Can we take a moment to just talk about how badass Kurt Russell always is? But yeah, this really revolves around him finding Peter and basically bringing him into who he is and what Peter is. No, but the two of them work really well together, and the story was just so good. And you know, you kind of find out also why, like, Peter Quill could go back to Earth whenever he wants, and he hasn't. And they get into that as well, and that's a big part of, you know, his story with Ego. Dave Bautista is back as Drax. If you ever watched my first review of Guardians of the Galaxy, I talk about how I wasn't sure about Dave Bautista. I'm a huge wrestling fan, and I loved him in the WWE, but I didn't think he would carry over to the screen that well. But Drax is perfect. Dave Bautista just does a great job overall. You could tell he kind of like, Drax now has the understanding that he doesn't do metaphors, and it really adds to it. He has a really interesting relationship with Mantis. I will butcher her last name. The actress who plays Mantis, first name is Poe. I'm not even going to attempt it as to not offend her, because you guys, if you watch this, you know I butcher names constantly. She's a little like Drax in the sense that she's literal, and she was found by Ego, and that's all she's ever known. This is really like her first interaction with other people. It's alluded to that you've seen other people, but she's still kind of getting the hang of everything. And Drax and her on screen together are amazing. Bradley Cooper is back as the voice of Rocket Raccoon, and this really gets deep into Rocket. The beginning of the movie, I was almost kind of like, can you guys stop fucking ragging on him? Because he's really having a hard time. And there is a scene with him and Yondu, played by Michael Rooker again, that is just like, you guys, you watch a scene between a blue alien and a fucking raccoon, and you get emotional, and you're like, Marvel, what are you doing? This is amazing. You're making me have fucking feels with a crying raccoon. Come on. While we're on the topic of Michael Rooker as Yondu, this definitely expands his story, and you actually find out the reason of why he never delivered Star-Lord to Ego. As it was alluded to in the last movie. It's a lot more on the surface. There's a scene at the beginning of the movie with Sylvester Stallone, who plays Starhawk. We'll get more into that later. And you kind of find out that Yondu is his own faction of the Ravengers, and he has been just disassociated and basically kicked out for things that he's done. And that definitely plays into his decision-making down the line. You can tell it weighs heavy on him, but after that confrontation, it's really all he's thinking about. My absolute favorite part of this movie was actually the relationship between Gamora and Nebula. And it's interesting because in the first movie, Nebula was painted in the most negative light. You know, definitely wasn't an ally of Thanos. You know, she sides with Ronan the first chance she gets to take him out. but you really find out why she just hates Gamora. It's seriously, it's like it's one big therapy session for all these characters filled with space fights. Now, I was really afraid that it was like, oh man, Groot, he was so funny and kind of cute in the first movie. Now he's an adorable little baby. I was really afraid that that's all it was going to be. It was just like goo goo gaga bullshit, so everyone go, ah, he's so cute. They do kind of get that out of the way at the beginning, but once again, they do it in a very, very good montage, I guess you would say. I don't know if it's a montage. Montage isn't the correct word. The opening sequence. There are a few other parts in the movie with him. There's one actually like really quick dark part with Baby Groot, and even Rocket's like, let's never speak of this again. But yeah, for something that I thought was going to potentially ruin the film, like James Gunn, you just don't let me down, man. I love it. Thank you. Now, one character that was seen in the first movie, but definitely has a much larger role in this, is Kraglin, played by Sean Gunn. I can't go too much into his role without giving a lot away, and I'm not trying to do that. We will talk about spoilers here in a second, but I will warn you, I'm not a dick. But really, Sean Gunn does an amazing job, and I assume that we're going to see a lot more of him on the team in the next film, but that's all I want to say about that for now. So one of the biggest parts of the first film was the soundtrack. And I remember before the movie came out, it was released on Spotify, and I didn't really think much of it because I'm just thinking, oh, you know, he's got the tape and just songs you'll hear, but you don't really realize how important it was to the movie, and it was just written very well with the scenes and everything else. I'm a big fan of, you know, writing around music, and James Gunn does that perfectly. Actually, one of my favorite songs of all time is on this soundtrack, Brandy by Looking Glass. And originally I'm like, well, you know, I'm sure this will be like just in the background. And that song actually ends up being like a plot point of the movie. There's something else that kind of alludes to a third, not really a soundtrack, like an awesome mix like he has in the first one and this one, but it definitely broadens the spectrum of songs he can choose from. All right, so here's where we get into spoilers. I'm just talking after the credits stuff. I'll give away one plot point, but if you don't want to hear those yet, please just skip to the end, or pause it, go see the movie, and just finish the video later. I don't want to be that guy who ruins it for you, so I'm telling you one more time. Spoilers. Spoilers are coming up right now. So there are 4 mid-credit scenes and 1 after the credit scenes, and in no particular order, I'm going to start going over those. So, and spoiler, if you didn't fucking hear me, I'm telling you now again, this is a spoiler. Stop watching or you're going to ruin the movie for yourself. After Yondu dies in the movie, it's the arrow that he uses is given to Kraglin, and that is why you see him sitting on the ship with the Guardians, and he's got Yondu's hawk, so he can control the arrow, or a version of the Mohawk fin, so he can use the arrow, and that's the first clue that makes me think he's going to be a part of the team now. And he's kind of practicing with the whistling, and he just stabs Drax right in the ass, and it's fucking hilarious. Now, I mentioned Sylvester Stallone earlier, playing Starhawk. For those of you that don't know, Starhawk is actually one of the original Guardians of the Galaxy. They were written as a team in the future, but they have tied this in well here. Yondu was part of the original as well, and they allude that there is there's a solid group of Ravengers that Yondu used to, hang out with, and that's who they are, and they show them at the end of the movie kind of reuniting. But the cool thing about this is you have Stallone, Ving Rhames, and Michael Rosenbaum, 3 pretty notable actors, and you have to assume that at some point they will be used in the future. There's a quick throwaway scene. I don't know that they're going to play on this as a whole nother movie. I think we might get Groot back in the next volume. But we get to see angsty teenage Groot playing space video games with a messy room, and Star-Lord comes in, he's like, clean up your vines and blah, and he's just like, I'm Groot. It was actually pretty funny. Like I said, I think it'll just be a throwaway scene. But either way, funny. You should definitely stay around to watch it. Now, this is the only scene that I think will have implications for the next volume. I don't know about Avengers Infinity War. I'd hope so. Maybe we'll see him around then, because I know Star-Lord's in it. But the big bads they're fighting the whole movie have developed a weapon to finally take down the Guardians. And his name is Adam. That's right, we get to see the egg sitting there. We're getting Adam Warlock. I'm fucking so excited. We're getting Adam Warlock. No joke, I talk about this all the time with the news and their movie reviews, but like, if you would have told me we would have not one, but two good Guardian films like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have fucking believed you for a minute. And now it looks like Adam Warlock is going to be fighting them in the next one, which means eventually we could be moving him into the Guardians. All right, the last scene I wanted to talk about was Stan Lee's cameo. You get to see him in the movie for a second, and then they kind of go back to it after the credits. But he's sitting on a moon of some sort. I assume our moon, because that's where they are, or at least ours is in the comic books. But he's on a space rock with the Watchers. Now, they don't necessarily make him a Watcher. I know that's something that they have, like, there's been a fan theory that, you know, all the Stan Lees are different Watchers, but they're just sitting him down, and he's kind of telling him the different jobs he's had and the things he's seen. Talks about all of his cameos. But real quick, guys, we get to see the Watchers on screen. Like, they're now established in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I loved this. I thought it was amazing. I cannot believe we have two great Guardian movies. If you saw it, please let me know what you thought in the comments. I'm interested to see what your thoughts were and how you feel about it. I hope you're as hyped up on it as I was. If you're not, I don't know, let me know why. Right down here in the comments, right down there. So right, I'm going to give this 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Please go check this movie out. I think it'll be for your benefit. Please, subscribe if you haven't yet. And until next time, you guys have a nerdy week.